Hey, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, Vincent LaRusso and I are going to be taking a look back at the Kiss album, Music from the Elder. We'll be discussing the songs, the era, the costumes, the album cover, and so much more. We know that this album splits a lot of Kiss fans, and there's lots of different opinions, so we look forward to hearing from you. As always, there's no right or wrong answers. Alrighty. Lots to cover in this episode. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. So let's jump in and let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. Today, I have with me my buddy back in the U.S. from a trip.
Yes.
Both of us, actually.
Yes.
My partner in crime, Mr. Vincent LaRusso. How you doing, buddy?
Excellent. I'm doing excellent on this Saturday afternoon.
Indeed. Yes. In fact, we both are just back from a nice vacation. You to the Aruba shore.
Yeah.
me to a European trip. So it's nice to be back together, at least digitally like this.
Yes, absolutely. It's nice to get some well-deserved rest and relaxation.
Yes. Now you're the one that should look like you have the suntan right now. But
I know.
how much time did you spend on the beach?
A significant amount of time, but I gotta, confess, I was very, what you call it? Not conservative. That I'm using the other word with the suntan. I had like a 70 SPF, the whole time because in Aruba it's like very close to the equator, and you will burn. And if you're sitting there 15 minutes, even though you got that breeze coming off the, which is beautiful, it's hot. It's hot. So,
Yeah.
but the water
Did you
was
sing
beautiful.
"Burn, Bitch, Burn" while you were there?
I sang on fire.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. I was on fire. I'm on fire.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I know you told me that Aruba was everything that it's cracked up to be, right? So I'm looking forward to
Highly recommend it.
Okay,
yeah, highly recommend it.
I'm supposed to be booking an Aruba trip this weekend so that I could go later in the year. So I'm looking forward to that then.
As you should.
Indeed. But that is not why we're here. We're not here to do a look back on our vacations.
Yeah, we don't work for Expedia,
That's right.
It's a brand new podcast.
That's right.
It's called Vacation, All I've Ever Wanted. See what I did?
I see what you did there. That's a good one. That'd be a good one for your cover band, by the way.
It would be, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
Yeah, nice summer song there. Nice summer song. So, but no, we are here to do a look back on a Kiss album that's a little bit polarizing. Splits the fan base a little bit. Certainly, I know people are going to have a lot of opinions on this one. We're going to talk today about music from the Elder, not just the Elder. It's music from the Elder.
Yeah.
To me, I love to start these episodes always kind of just like getting us in the mindset of what it was like in 1981. And first, I'll just drip out a few of the albums that came out, but then we'll talk about Kiss specifically leading up to 1981. So when I was looking at some of the albums in 1981, I thought of you instantly, right? Tattoo You, Rolling Stones. I have to figure that's in your collection, right?
Absolutely.
Business as Usual, Men at Work. No doubt that one's in your collection, right?
Great album.
Ghost in the Machine, The Police.
That's right there.
Belladonna, Stevie Nicks.
That's somewhere.
Fair Warning, Van Halen.
That's over there.
Escape, Journey.
That's there.
Diary of a Madman, Ozzy.
That's here.
Okay. High and Dry, Def Leppard.
It's there.
Those About to Rock, AC/DC.
That's there.
Okay, there you go. So
I love that I have every one of these records on vinyl, by the way.
on vinyl, yes, it's
Everyone.
somewhere right around you on vinyl. And when you were
Yes,
pointing, it's
yes.
there. I think you literally
Well,
were pointing to exactly where they were located.
so people know. So what you see here and what
Mhm.
you see here is also here and there.
Yes,
So
exactly.
yes,
Exactly.
yeah,
And that's why I said when you were pointing, I think you were legitimately pointing to where you would find those albums.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So to me, 1981, I mean, I just listed just a handful of records that came out that year, right? But it's a good year for music. You know, it's some strong rock albums in there, Diary,
More
High,
than a
High
good
and
year.
Dry. Well, you know what? I think some of the 80s years were better than 81, personally, my opinion, but it's still
Mm,
a good year for music.
mm. And for Blimp,
And for a blimp, I don't understand that.
good year, Blimp.
Okay, yes. Okay, I understood that, but all right. I thought you were referencing 1981 for some reason, but okay. Good year. It's a good year. It's a blimp, yes. All right. Oh man. Okay. So
Yeah,
on that note,
I like how I got you befuddled there. That was
that's
great.
right. That's right. It's not often that with your little references you could
He's
stump
on the
me.
train. He's on the track. Also, he's like the rail,
Exactly.
trying to get back on.
And he just like take
Yeah,
me
yeah,
right back off again. But
yeah.
yeah, so to me it's a good year,
Mm-hmm.
blimp, for music. But I want to also talk about Kiss kind of leading up to this album, right? So to me, I think about Kiss, and I think 78, 79, a couple of years before this album, their merchandising is at their peak, right? And there's dolls,
Mm-hmm.
there's lunch boxes, there's pinball machines, there's everything under the sun, right? You got it.
Mm-hmm.
They put out Dynasty. It's successful, but not quite as successful as they hoped for. But they're still able to tour the United States. Not as many shows in each city as they hoped, but it's still, you know, they're still doing well, even if it's not mega Kiss or super Kiss like they were hoping for. Unmasked comes out. I'll say it's another step backwards from what they were hoping. A little bit of a pop album at this point now, right? We did a look back on that one. It's not doing well in America to the point that they don't even tour in America outside of one show at the US and the Palladium in New York City, right? It's the first time they're not touring the US. Of course, they do tour internationally. It's probably their biggest international tour in their original run with Makeup. Also around this time, we know Peter Criss announces that he's leaving the band, right? And he's going to pursue a solo career. Eric Carr comes in. It's the first new makeup design for the band, right? There's a lot of change going on between that 79, 1980 time period. Fans are starting to have a backlash on some of the merchandising. The longtime fans are starting to see Kiss as a kiddie band. And I think there's a backlash from those longtime Kiss fans at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think for you and I, because we were younger, we were just jumping on the train, so to speak, right? I mean, I jumped on, I know in 76 is when I jumped on, but 79 was the first time I saw the band in concert. It was really, I'll say, the start of my overall Kiss fandom was around this time period leading up to the Elder. And I'm purposely doing this because, as we all know, the Elder is a huge departure for Kiss from what they were doing. And especially when you look at that 78, 79, 80 time period, it makes it even a bigger departure. This would be a big enough departure if we went Destroyer and then the Elder. When you go Dynasty, Unmasked, the Elder, man, is this a total left-hand turn at that point, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So they did not have a lot of success, obviously, 1980. They at first decide that they're going to record a hard rock album, right? And there's some demos that float out there. In fact, some of them have been officially released, whether it's Deadly Weapons, Feel Like Heaven, Nowhere to Run actually originates from that session. The Ace Frehley song Breakout was written during that time, right? Which obviously didn't make it onto a Kiss album, but made it to his solo album. It's an instrumental. They're going with what they think is going to be a hard rock record at first. But then the powers that be, Paul, Gene, Bill Coyne, decide that's not going to be good enough to go back to a hard rock album. We need to do something a little bit more drastic. Pink Floyd had The Wall. That was a big hit. Bob Ezrin co-produced that. They decide, let's bring back in Bob Ezrin. He did Destroyer for us. Great success. We're going to do a concept album. We're going to go kind of a little bit more to an extreme with this. So let me just pause there for a moment. In hindsight, do you think that's the right decision to go with a concept album here based on the history of what was going on in the band at that point?
My answer to that is without Roger Waters, no. You know,
Uh,
reason why The Wall was phenomenal record, is because of the genius of Roger Waters and David Gilmour. I mean, it's just totally different writers. You're coming from, you know, let's face facts. Kiss lyrically have always been very tongue in cheek about sex, girls, that kind of thing. Pretty much consistent.
Yes.
So I think even though there's talent in Kiss, they didn't quite have the kind of talent, in my opinion, to have that kind of complexity. I mean, when I was re-listening to The Elder, I was thinking about Tommy from The Who, how much I love that record, and I was trying to make like a parallel comparison, even though Tommy's a lot longer, it's a double, just like Pink Floyd's The Walls is a double LP set. But even if you listen to something like, Queensryche, like Operation Mindcrime or something like that, there's just a sort of a level of musicianship. And even though I think that Ezrin got a lot out of Kiss, and I'll touch upon some of those things as we go through the songs, for a Kiss record to do that, I think it was executed really well. I wanted to say that up front. But I could understand why they went in this direction. Like you said, The Wall was very, very successful record. Ezrin was a hot producer. The Wall came out in '79. It went well into '80. I think Another Brick in the Wall was a hit in like 1980 or something. I don't know the timeline. I just know I think The Wall was released in '79, but obviously it carried into the '80, and the tour was highly successful.
At that same time that Kiss is going on their downside that I mentioned before.
And coming from the two records, perhaps it's like, well, we're losing core of our audience. Maybe we want to show that we're much mature, more sophisticated. So those 17 and 18 and 19-year-old people who or fans who are listening to the Wall or whatever, we want to try to get them back. I know personally, even back then, a good small handful, and now more than a handful of people said they tuned out when they saw Unmasked, just the album cover, and they were embarrassed to go buy it in the store. That wasn't us at 10 years old.
No.
We thought it was, cool, and we were both excited, as we talked about in the podcast, to say, "Ooh, are they really going to be Unmasked? Let's see what the cover is going to be like." So very, very different mindset of a 10-year-old than a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old.
And that's why I started with my look back on Kiss at this time period with the merchandising, because to me, to your point, it was becoming a young crowd watching and listening to Kiss. And I feel like with this record, they wanted to try, to your point, win back those 17, 18-year-olds that were listening to the quote unquote more serious rock music.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was your original question?
I don't even know if I had a question. I think I just paused and just asked you, well, did you think that it was a right approach for them?
And I said, if they would have had Roger Waters.
Right. Yes, that was the question.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think they were trying to play it both ways, right? They tried to, leading up to this album, appease and bring in the younger kids. And now they're trying to get the older kids back. And sometimes when you try to do too much, you end up accomplishing nothing really, because you alienate everybody. I say that because when they recorded this album and then they turned it into the record company, even the record company wasn't happy at this point, right? They listened to this and it has the original track listing on it that starts with like Fanfare and Just a Boy, and people were like, what? This sounds nothing like a Kiss album. And the label actually makes them change the sequence of the songs on the record, which in turn makes the concept, which is loose to begin with, in my opinion, impossible to follow, because now the story is just all mumbo jumbo, to the point that I know it's a concept album. I really, for myself, I don't even consider it a concept album because I can't follow a damn story on this with the sequence that I purchased back in November 1981.
Absolutely. And I was, interestingly enough, listening to it and the final listen before this, in the mindset of what did the record executives think when they were brought into a room to listen to this, the amount of confusion and it must have been, I wish we had a soundboard of that.
Yes. I'd love to have, not even a soundboard, I'd love to have a video.
Oh yeah.
Them in the room there and seeing the expressions on their faces.
It's so interesting. And I just want to do a little aside, even though it has nothing to do with Kiss. I watched a documentary, which I highly recommend if you're a Motown fan, and It was on basically. I think I saw it on. I don't know if it was on Amazon, but it's basically like the history of Motown and whatever. And basically, what they would do is when the songwriters would write a song, they would all get the company in, listen to the song, and they would vote. And this was the secretary at the desk. This was, Smokey Robinson who wrote the song. This was the producers, the engineers, some of the other artists. You might have had like Marvin Gaye in the room, and they would raise hand. Now, they actually had an audio clip of Berry Gordy in a conference meeting talking about My Girl, by the Temptations. And you actually hear some of the executives or what it doesn't do anything for me. I don't think it's a hit, and then you had some saying, and it's just incredible. And there was a couple of them that songs that are so iconic that it just goes to show you, and even as an artist myself, where I've been criticized about this and it hurts, if somebody says, oh, I don't think that's good, doesn't absolutely mean it's not. I mean, but it's my point of saying that is kind of like, I wonder if anybody raised their hand and said, this is going to be a hit, like this is going to be great,
Right.
I think it was probably universally like people like, like with their jaws dropped and saying, what the heck is this?
Yeah. I wonder why they didn't maybe take some of those demos I mentioned before. Like a song like Nowhere to Run, right? That was written in this time period. And maybe just change the lyrics a little bit if you want to. But I mean, I guess there are rock songs on this album as well, but I'm surprised if they wanted to do a concept, why not just do more of a rock album with a storyline thread throughout it?
Well, I think I'll get to that.
Okay.
Why I think that is.
Okay.
I'll give my technical, but I won't share that yet.
Okay. Well, with that, then I think we should jump into the songs. Now, we didn't talk about what sequence we can use. I want to use the sequence from November 81, the way I first got the album, because that to me is the way I've always listened to this album. It's the way I was introduced. It's the way all fans were introduced to the album, really. So that's the sequence I want to use. We're going to do our scale from 0 to 10. As we always say, every opinion is different. Everybody's entitled to a different opinion. 10 means this song is picture perfect. This is the Stairway to Heaven or whatever you consider the perfect song. 5 is average. A little bit above 5 is a little better than average. Below 5, obviously, is a little bit lower than average. 7 is when you start to get into your upper tier type songs. So we always just like to put that out there because I find, especially when I do on my Facebook page, if I say hey, rate the song 0 to 10, so many people 10, 10, 10, 10. And that's great. Maybe so many people just love the song, whatever song it is, and think it's a 10, but not every song in the world could be a 10,
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind as we go through this. But with that, let's jump in. Side 1, music from the Elder, The Oath. You want to go ahead, buddy?
The Oath. Well, this is definitely one of the strongest tracks, obviously, on the album.
Which is why when they resequenced it, they put it first.
Yeah. And by the way, my sequence is not like that in my spreadsheet, but that's okay. I could jump around. It doesn't matter. I know how to read, thankfully.
So you put your spreadsheet in the what should have been the proper sequence.
Correct.
So that's good. So then you can tell us, where was this song? I said it's the lead song from the album because that's how I know it. Where was it supposed to be originally?
8th song.
8. So much further down in the album than it ended up being.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Strong song. Great riff. Great vocal by Paul. And that's one of the things I'm going to go into, like as a highlight of this record is Paul and Gene's vocals, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I think this is an extremely strong song. I gave it an 8.3.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with you with the riff. I think the riff is great. We spoke about, the fact that Kiss had a new drummer coming into this record. It's Eric Carr's first album with the band. I love the double bass that you hear in this. It's obviously, I know there's some double bass on Masked as well. I think Torpedo Girl, if I remember right.
Yeah.
But, it's clear that Kiss has got a different drummer at this point and they're not hiding it. I think it's a great way to start an album. I agree with you. I think Paul's vocal is really strong on this song as well. The what is it, falsetto that he uses never bothered me. I think some people don't like it. I actually do like it. Maybe not as highly rated as you have it, but I do have it, I think, a little bit up there. I gave it a 7.5.
Okay.
Yeah. To me, it's a good way to start an album, and it's not, again, going back into November '81. It's not a sign of things to come at this point,
Right.
So good.
And it's really kind of unfortunate they put it first, because now you think, yeah, this is what the record's going to be like, and then like, uh-oh, what's going on here?
And the song ends, and then I don't want to rate this, but I do want to talk about it. That song ends, and all of a sudden you hear,
yeah.
and you're like, what?
Yeah, and honestly, I didn't put a rating on this. It's not rateable. How do you rate this?
Yeah, I didn't put a rating on it either. But my question to you, is it a fun track or not?
Well, it's fun for you and I, because you and I have always, you know. I mean, I don't mind it, in the grand scheme of the record, it kind of fits, honestly. But yeah, it's unrateable.
Yeah, I agree. I did not put a rating on this. We didn't talk about it beforehand, and we usually do rate the instrumentals, and we will when it comes to Escape from the Islands. But this is not rateable. This is not a real song. This is what the introduction of the album was supposed to be, right? So imagine if they did the original sequence, you drop the needle on the record, and us as like 10, 11-year-old kids, and the first thing you hear is do, 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 do. Like, it's bad enough when it followed the Oath, but at least the Oath was like, hey, this is a rocking song. This is good. I can't imagine how jarring that would have been as Kiss fans to that be the first note you hear in 1981 when this album comes out.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we're not going to rate that. I'm curious, though, what other people think of that. And I remember on the back cover, they even put Fanfare was like in italics on the back. So they even listed it differently back there, so.
Right.
But then that always led right into Just the Boy, Paul song. Go ahead, my friend. I'm really curious. I don't know where you're going to go with something like this.
Here we go. All right. So
here we go.
Here we go again. I personally like this song a lot. Not
I said I didn't know where you were going to go here.
Yeah. And I'll give you my reasons why. Guitar solo that Paul plays on it, I thoroughly enjoy. Again, Paul has got a great sense of melody for his guitar solos. I just love the pre-chorus. I just love the melody. Actually, the chorus is the weakest thing of the song. Great. And not that it's bad, but the verses. I love Paul's vocal. It's like when I was listening to this record, it's like a precursor of Phantom of the Opera. Listen to his vocals on this, and you understand why he was in Phantom of the Opera.
I've always said that. Yes, I agree with you.
So why I like some of this stuff is because of some of the more technical aspects of the record. And this is what I was going to lead to. It's like, I know as a musician where I hear the standard rock and roll over chord sequences. And then I know when I listen to this record, I'm like, that's not a chord that, Kiss usually puts in there. Whether it was an Ezrin influence or, a song like Odyssey, which wasn't even written by them, where you really on this gear, like, okay, Kiss did not write this song. The chords are just like, come on. If it was Stanley Ezrin, I would like, all right, Ezrin did a lot of the heavy lifting. Maybe Stanley wrote the lyrics,
Right. Yeah.
But I like this song. I give it a 6.5.
Okay. Yeah, I had a feeling you might like this one. To me, it's like you said, it's a departure from what Kiss did. It's a little bit creative. I don't think I hold it in as much regard as you. I do love Stanley's vocal on this, especially leading up to the chorus. The chorus, I just just the boy. No, thank you. Doesn't do. I'm glad you mentioned the solo, because I was forgetting about that as I was getting ready to talk. I'm like, no, it's a good solo. I agree with you there. For me, this is a very average song, though. It's not bad. I'll give it a 5.
Okay.
All righty. Next up on the original 1981 November sequence was Dark Light, the Ace Frehley song from this album. Originally recorded as Don't Run, as we've heard that demo for decades now. This is one of the songs that they did, like I said before. I'm surprised they didn't take some of their rockier songs and change the lyrics. And that's exactly what they did here with Dark Light. I think the lyric change actually works. I happen to think this is a solid Ace Frehley song. I happen to love the solo he does in this. even if there's what bongos in the background during the solo, or whatever. It's a little odd, but I think to me, it's one of the best Ace Frehley solos recorded on any album. I just think it's that great of a solo. The song is good. It's not great. It's not, it's no Shock Me or Rocket Ride, that's for sure. But I think it's a really solid effort on this album. I'm going to go with a 6.5 on this.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a 5.5. Yeah, I cited in there that I think it's the first Kiss song with some congas in the guitar solo, and it's a cool guitar solo. You hear all the Ace-isms in it. There's nothing that really departs from Ace. There's one other song where Ace does a solo on something where kind of you can still tell it's Ace, but you're like, was that Ace? But they did bring in Bob Kulick. Maybe as we go down, I'll remember it. But it's kind of an interesting listen. The solo does match the song. Some of these other songs, like I'd be curious if for Just a Boy, like what Ace would have played, because that doesn't sound anything like what Ace would have played. That slow, melodic solo, just like we'll get to it, A World Without Heroes. I think it's interesting why Ace didn't play. I don't know if he could have really come up with something that would have been as melodic. And, I don't know if it was a case where Paul's like, okay, wrote the song, I'm doing the guitar solo.
Well,
or
no, so I'm
like,
glad you're bringing this up. I mean, Ace did record solos for all of these songs.
Okay.
And
see,
supposedly, right. So they sent him to record. He was recording up in Toronto, I think, at the time. And, or no, he was recording in Connecticut. The band was in Toronto.
Right. That's what he said.
Right. I had that backwards. And he recorded solos. He sent it back, and they never told him that they took his solos off and they used whether it's Stanley or other guitarists until he heard the album. And then supposedly he took the tape and freaking threw it against the wall. And he was so pissed that, they removed his solos. I'd love to hear what his solos originally were for songs like The Oath or Just the Boy or some of these other songs on the record. I'm curious to hear what he would have come up with. That would be one of the two holy grails I have that I would love from this album. And I'll talk about the second holy grail later on, but I'd be curious to hear that.
Call Rachel. She may have it. She may have it for you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think she does, because I looked over that list of tapes when that she had posted,
Rachel,
and I did not see anything that said that. But who knows? It's got to be out there. I hope they can record over them. But not that I think we're ever getting a deluxe treatment of the Elder, but that would be freaking awesome to hear the solos that he did for this album. But so what'd you go with this? The Dark Light? What'd you rate it?
5.5.
5.5.
I think it's slightly above average.
All right. So it's interesting because the first two songs you were higher than me, and now I'm higher than you on Dark Light. All right, I'm enjoying this. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, Only You. The first Gene song on the album, which again in this sequence is kind of surprising. Ace is getting another song before Gene, just like on the Dynasty sequence, just like on the Unmasked sequence. So it's following that pattern of an Ace song coming before a Gene song. Again, in the sequence that we heard. What do you think of Only You?
Well, my memory serves correct. They both sing on this song, right? Both the Gene and Paul.
Yeah, Paul, I think, does like a part coming out of a solo or something like that. If I'm right.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit above average. Like I gave it a 5.3. It's again. I think the chorus is maybe the weakest part of the song. But there's a lot of other parts of the song that I like. That I think it makes it a little bit above average.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it's a song that they kind of sing together, not at the same time, but like on the tradition of like shout out loud and whatever,
To me, I almost hear this song in two different parts, right? The first part of the song is dun, 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 and Gene's singing over that. But then it goes into like a heavier riff. And I love that heavier riff. Is freaking amazing to me. And then they do a little throwback to Just the Boy towards the later part of the song.
Yeah, it's very creative.
To me, it's very, that's why I'm surprised. I thought you were going to actually rate the song higher than you did, because to me, it is very creative.
It is. I mean, again, but in the grand scheme, I love the vocal effects they do on, that backwards vocal on Gene. And then they use what's called a vocoder, I believe. What's it? Tell me the secret. What's the lyric there? Tell me the secret. It's like that's like a vocoder. It's like a synthesized. You sing into a microphone. You press the keys. That's what it was. That's what that is. I believe. But yeah, it's got cool bass line. Gene supposedly played the rhythm guitar on this record on this song. Yeah, there's musical elements that I really like about this song. but ultimately, I think because of the chorus, unfortunately, it doesn't bring it higher than a 5.3. Maybe it was a better chorus. I start going to the 6.5s, but I kind of feel that's where it should sit.
Yeah. I went with a 6.2 on this. I really,
okay.
really liked that second part. So you have the original sequence the way it was supposed to come out. I'm assuming, and because I don't remember this off the top of my head, was only you towards the end of the record originally?
No, fourth.
Fourth. That's interesting because to me,
Yeah.
the fact that they did the throwback to Just the Boy to me was always going to be, I thought was like bookmarks on the record. I knew, it wasn't the last song, but I just assumed that I really like that throw. I like when bands do something like that, where they do a quick throwback to another song. And to me, knowing that this was a concept album and a story, it makes sense that it's there. So yeah, I like this one.
Yeah.
I like this one. All right. Next up is the last song on the first side of the Elder, Under the Rose. I'm going to start with this one first. Everybody who's ever known me knows that all through the 80s, Eric Carr was my guy. I love Eric Carr, still do to this day. To me, he was the perfect guy to replace Peter Criss. I wish they gave Eric Carr some of his own songs on albums in the 80s. I wish he was seen more as a full member of the band, like the way they treated Tommy and Eric Singer in the more recent years. I put all of that out there because when I first got the Elder, it was my first introduction to Eric Carr being in the band. And as I always did as a kid, I would sit down, I'd look at the credits of the songs. And this song, I know Gene Simmons has a co-write on it. I think there's a second person, and Eric Carr is the third co-write on the album. So in my mind, this was my first taste to only two people on the, so it's only Gene and Eric.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
according
this
to Wikipedia.
Okay, I'm sure that's right. The important thing was that Eric Carr is on the song as a songwriter. So for me, as a Kiss fan, this was my first taste of the impact of having a new drummer on the album. So I just said how much I love Eric Carr. Damn, did I hate this song then? I hate this song now. And I blamed Eric Carr for that. And I said to myself in November of 1981, they've got to get rid of this new drummer. What the hell type of songs is he bringing to the band? This song, Under the Rose, is the worst. This is no Bet. This is no Baby Driver. Hell, this isn't even a Dirty Living. What the hell is this ridiculous the chanting vocal in the chorus? I hated this song, and temporarily for a few months hated Eric Carr because of this song. So I share that whole story because I just remember that very vividly as a kid sitting there saying, this friggin' Eric Carr guy sucks. This song sucks, blah, blah, blah. Forget the fact I think he has a songwrite on Escape from the Island, which I thought was good. That this was my first introduction to Eric Carr. And I don't know if I've ever done this on a look back. I'm giving this song a 1.
Wow.
That's how much I hate this song.
Okay, well, I can understand why. I'm going to try to be a little bit more objective. Yes, this is no secret. This is the worst song on the record, in my opinion. Sorry to give it away. Give it away now. But there are elements of this song that I do like. I do like
when it's over and I get to flip the side over. That's the element I like.
I do like Gene's vocal of the verses.
Okay.
He's got that vibrato thing that the first time I really heard him do that. And Eric does supposedly play the acoustic guitar on this. And I wonder if he more was the songwriter because he did play the acoustic on it. Because it is, when I say more the songwriter, did Gene write the lyrics and did he do the music? I think this is the one that I believe, and I actually looked it up because when I listened to it, I said, is this Ace did the solo on this? Or was it somebody else? And pretty much everybody said it's Ace. Because I think it actually is a good solo. It's a bit different than an Ace. So because of the solo, because of the verses, it is a horrific chorus.
That chorus
I will give you that.
Torture.
I'll give you that. But I gave it a 3. Not quite a 1. I'm because of those kind of merits, I can't go that low. But again, maybe I could give it a 2 on another day. Who knows? But
I
today,
wondered why I didn't give it a 0. How about that? That's how much I dislike this song.
this will boomerang.
So I was literally going to bring up the exact same thing. I recently played Boomerang for my son just to be like, I think this is one of the worst songs ever, and it's still, I mean, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
I think this is worse. Had you asked me this question 6 months ago, I might have said Boomerang. But man, I know many Kiss fans love this song, so I just don't get it. I don't get what Kiss fans love about this song.
Yeah.
I'll go with
Yeah.
this. I'll go with Boomerang over this at this point in 2024.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I friggin' hate this song.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough.
I can't wait to turn over the album at this point. So let's flip it over to side B. The lead single from the album, A World Without Heroes. Gene's tender moment, solid gold, teardrop coming down the eye. What are your thoughts on A World Without Heroes?
I mean, I think this this is very much a departure of a Gene Simmons song. I think it's very well written. Um, his vocal is great on
Lou
it.
Reed has a songwriting credit on this, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Is this the one that did not?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Fact check me.
Yes,
I do this.
yes. It's actually 4 writers on this. It's actually 4. It says Stanley,
Paul,
Ezra,
Gene,
Reed, and
yep.
Sim. And maybe that's why it's so good, you know. No, this is extremely song. I mean, look, they did it on the Unplugged, you know. Cher covered it. Somebody may else have covered it. I'm not sure. This song could have been a bigger song. It's one of those other songs, you know, because it was a Kiss song. Obviously, it didn't. I gave it a 9. This song.
Wow,
that's how strong it is.
Wow, yeah. A 9.
Yeah.
That I did not expect to hear. A 9.
Yeah. 9.
So you would say then it's probably a good lead single for the album.
Yes.
Okay.
Even though it's not a up-tempo song, it's you know, but you know, it's lyrically it's great. You know, it's a great song just from that alone. You know, and Gene did a tremendous job, and the guitar solo on this is tremendous. Tremendous solo by Paul on this.
I love that you gave it a 9. Actually,
yeah.
This is another one of the songs that was originally, I think it was originally a Paul song, Every Little Bit of My Heart or something like that, that they ended up reworking for the album. Assuming Gene came in and wrote different lyrics. I happen to like the lyrics quite a bit. I think it kind of tells a good story, even taking it out of the realm of a concept album. I just think just lyrically, it's a well-written song. I like the music. I don't love it anyways near as much as you do. I'm nowhere near a 9, but it's a solid song. I'm going to go with a 6.5 on this.
Okay.
Yeah, just outside of the reach of starting to get those upper echelon songs, but it's a good song. Okay. Next up, Mr. Blackwell. I'm going to let you go first here.
Oof. Oof. You know, I actually rated this one lower than Under the Rose. I gave this a 2.5. There's not much merit in the song. I don't like the verses. I don't like the chorus. You know.
Wait, so you just said you rated this lower than, but I thought before you said Under the Rose was the worst song on the album.
I guess I didn't look at my spreadsheet close enough.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I cut you off. So what were you saying?
Yeah, I gave this song a 2.5. There's not much I like about this song at all.
Where was this song in the original sequence of the record?
It was, let me see, including Fanfare, 1, 2, 3, 9th.
9th. All right. So it's still towards the back end of the album. Yeah, I agree. This song is a complete dud to me. Maybe not quite as bad as Under the Rose, because I freaking hate that song, in case anybody didn't get that. But there's really, I'm hard pressed to find many redeeming qualities of Mr. Blackwell. I went with a 2.5 on this one. It's not good. It's not, but it's not Under the Rose bad, but this is not good. If I never hear the song again, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So we rated it the same.
Well, look at that. Yeah, it's our first similar rating. We've been opposite ends of these songs a lot of times. So let's see how we close out the album. Escape from the Island.
I mean, again, this is but this is a song. I rated this. It's an instrumental. You know, and it's really hard thing to rate. So I just gave it a 5 because it has no melody or lyric. So, but it's a good instrumental. So that's why I just gave it a 5.
This or Love Theme from Kiss?
Oh, this.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Yeah, I happen to like this as an instrumental, even though, like you said, there's no vocal melody, obviously, in an instrumental. But I feel like, and I know that this was not like, I think it was not on the Japan release originally, which is why they put it on the Japan version of Killers. I think it was not even in the original release that they gave to the record label, but somebody correct me if I'm wrong about that. But I feel
Mm.
like a tension building during this song. Like, so if this is part of a concept album that's supposed to be telling a story, I feel this song does a good job kind of building a tension. I feel like there's like a chase going on during this. I've always thought
Mm.
that. And I remember when I saw Kiss on the Lick It Up tour, not knowing anything about set list or anything like that, or what songs Kiss were and weren't doing. And I knew nothing about the Creatures of the Night tour that had taken place. Um, I remember going into the Lick It Up show at Radio City, hoping they would do Escape from the Islands and thinking that this was going to be the song that led into Eric Carr's drum solo in concert. How
Mm.
wrong was I about that? But that was my
Right,
thought
right.
process. I actually like this song. Even to this day, it's just a fun song to listen to. I'm going to go with a 6 on this.
Okay.
Yeah, I like this one. So, all right, we're coming near the end of the album. Next up, Odyssey. I am so curious to hear what you say about
Mm.
this. Go
Mm.
ahead, my friend.
And I know what it is. There's just so much musical goodness on this song, in my opinion. Okay, I had this is a song that much later in life that I've come to really appreciate. And as I said earlier, clearly it wasn't written by Kiss.
It's actually a cover. I mean, it was recorded by
Right,
somebody.
right,
Powers, somebody
and
Powers. I don't remember.
Tony Powers, I
Tony
think.
Powers. Yeah, Tony Powers.
Again, more to what I said about earlier about this really kind of this is like a precursor to Phantom of the Opera with Paul's vocal, especially on the verse. His vocal range, how he could have that really deeper voice, and the instrumentation, it just I just think it's a beautiful written song.
Mm.
It's got a great melody to it. I'm a big fan of the song, and I have become more in the last 10 years of the song. And I I think it's really strong. I get the feeling you're not going to agree with me on this one, but I gave it a 7.5.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I
And
actually thought you might go higher
and
than that.
oh, really?
Yeah.
And the other thing about this particular song is that Alan Schwartzberg supposedly played the drums on it.
Oh, really? That I thought he played on I did not remember
He did.
or no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember when Stanley was doing Phantom of the Opera, and I'm so glad you made the reference on this song. There were people that are like, "Oh, I never knew he could sing like that." And I was like, "You didn't listen to the Elder? You haven't heard the song Odyssey?" I
Right.
thought to me they were the identical. And what do I know? I'm not a singer, but I thought it was the
Mm.
same type of singing style that he did for Phantom of the Opera that he did on the song Odyssey. Um, I've always liked this song, never held it in such high regard the way you do. But even as a kid, I didn't dislike this song. Even through the 80s,
Mm.
I didn't dislike this song. In fact, probably my opinion hasn't changed much on this song at all over the decades, other than I really appreciate Stanley's vocal on this. I think he did
Hmm.
a great job on it. I don't think it's an amazing song. I'm not going to go up where you did, but I'll go with a 5.7 on this.
Oh, see, I thought you were gonna go higher than me the way you were setting that up.
No, no, no. I think it's a little bit above average. It's
Okay.
good. It's it's good. I think a lot of Kiss fans point to this as a downside of the record, and maybe I'm wrong. And maybe Kiss fans will correct me with this, but I don't see it that way. I think it's a good
Mm.
song, a little bit above average.
Okay.
I'm on a good day, I might go to 6, but today I'm
Yeah.
going to go with my 5.7.
Okay.
All right, that brings us to the final song on the album.
Mm.
What do you think, my friend?
Well, this is one that did. Is this another one they did on Fridays, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is
They did The
Friday.
Oath, and World Without Heroes.
Right. Correct. Again, you mentioned just a little while ago, I mentioned Alan Schwartzberg. Supposedly, this has got like the shuffle groove, and I supposedly, as I don't know if Schwartzberg said, because I think somebody might ask him or whoever asked, I don't remember, that Eric kind of wasn't just kind of getting, I guess, maybe what Ezrin was looking for. Because clearly, Eric could play. It's one thing, it's not somebody can't play it, is can they imagine it or, bring it to the table at first until they see somebody else do it, and
Right.
then they learn it. It's like, what's your feel? Like, what are you bringing? When somebody shows you a chord sequence, whatever.
Now I'm glad you're saying
So
that because to me, Eric did a great job on Fridays with it. Like I would
right,
never,
exactly.
honestly, I wouldn't even know it's not him on the album based on that
Right,
Friday's performance if it wasn't a
right.
known fact.
So clearly this wasn't like a technical
Yeah,
issue. It was just he might have just not been cutting in the studio for whatever reason
yeah.
and needed some time to rehearse it and really, get it down. But yeah, I think the song is strong. That they both sing on this one, Um, good chorus, even though it's kind of Elder-esque with the amount of vocal in there, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not like over the top,
Agreed.
like, Under the Rose. But
Right.
it's good. It's again, I love like when the Paul at the I don't report, he was like, I don't need no money. And like it's like he's like channeling
Uh-huh.
Elvis Presley there or
Uh-huh.
something
Yep.
like that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um I love the way the vocals go back and forth. I think it's a great tune. I gave it a 6.5.
No, I gave it a
And the
little high.
fact that, fucking Paul started, this wasn't the first song with this fucking listen. Oh God. It was like a string of listens. I mean,
Yes.
you and I have had this conversation of how many songs they said, listen, listen,
Yes.
that this band
That
would
is true.
listen.
Yes.
So when I heard that again, I'm like, oh, I think the first song they did it was "I Stole Your Love." If I'm correct on that.
We'll have to go back
Yeah,
and check
yeah,
that out. But
yeah.
yeah, I agree with you. I happen to like the song a lot. I like it musically. To me, this is the most Kiss-like song on the album. Even more than the Oath and even more than Darklight. The lyrically, this is like a feel-good, believe in yourself type of thing. So it kind of fits with, other types of songs Kiss have written over the years. Just as a rock song, I think you could take this song and maybe just dial back some of those background vocals on the choruses and put it on another Kiss album, and I think it would fit. And you wouldn't be like, "What's this kind of weird song?" Like
Mm-hmm.
a Mr. Blackwell or even in Only You or Just a
Mm-hmm.
Boy. Like those wouldn't fit on other Kiss song albums. I think I would fit on another Kiss album. I love when I saw them on one of the Kiss cruises and they actually closed with this song, which to
Mm-hmm.
me was friggin' awesome. It's a shame that this album bombed the way it did. And at that time in 81, the only live performances is like we referenced here was Fridays, was the one and only time some of these songs were performed live, until we get to MTV Unplugged and then the cruises. But I think I love the trade-in vocals on this. I actually went with an 8 on this one.
Okay.
I think to me it's the best song on the album. And it's just it's a classic type Kiss song to me. I really like this one.
Okay.
So where does that leave us,
Hmm.
overall rankings for this album?
And it leaves us as usual. I always have a higher score than you, most often.
No, well, on this record, that doesn't surprise me. And
Right.
I don't hate the album by any means. I mean, there's a number of songs I gave, over better than average. I think my ratings are brought down from Under the Rose and Mr. Blackwell, especially Under the Rose being a 1. But
Yeah.
what was my overall score?
And that being said, I'm a 5.91 and you're a 5.49, which is basically a 5.5.
Right.
So it's only like 0.4 difference,
Yep. Yep.
which most times we're usually plus minus in that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a little bit of above average. We're saying the record is,
Yeah. So I know critics at first, if you look at the reviews, liked this album. And now, of course, in later years, you'll see it on all of these worst album lists or, biggest departure and things like that. Obviously, we both were a little bit above average in our ratings. You a little higher than me. We started off saying that they thought at first were going to do a rock album, changed to a concept album. Do you think this was the wrong album at the wrong time for Kiss, or do you wish if you could take it out of the catalog, would you?
no,
Agreed.
absolutely not.
Agreed. Agreed.
I like that it exists. I like that there's a departure, even if there is, a Under the Rose on there. There's still a lot of other songs that have a lot of merit on this record. There were a lot of Kiss records that had a couple shit burgers on it.
Yes.
Let's face it, right? So if the record has a couple songs like that we don't like we've mentioned,
Yep.
like an Under the Rose or what was the other one I rated on the
Mr.
lower side?
Blackwell.
Yeah, Mr. Blackwell. But it has a World Without Heroes and it has an Oath. If it has an I, if it has an Odyssey, I mean, that's pretty damn strong. Those 4 songs, So,
Yeah.
and I enjoy listening to it because the same reason why I enjoy listening to Carnival of Souls. Like maybe sometimes I don't want to hear about taking somebody to a ladies' room or calling Dr. Love or
Yeah.
talking about his love gun. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
Maybe I want to hear something that's a
Hmm.
departure from the typical Kiss, machine.
Right.
So
Do you think if Kiss had put out 10 albums like The Elder, you'd be a Kiss fan?
probably not.
Hmm.
I think it would be too much, honestly. I think
Hmm.
if any artist did 10 Elder
Yeah.
records,
Hmm.
it'd be too much. I mean, even Pink Floyd didn't do that,
Right. Right. Of
you
course.
know?
Of course.
So, Pink Floyd's an interesting study because, they came out with The Wall. And then after that, I think was the final cut, which was, I think, leftovers. There wasn't even like
Hmm.
a record that was written specifically for that. And then Pink Floyd became another Pink Floyd after that.
Right.
Roger Waters did his own thing, and David Gilmour. So in the late '80s, when Pink Floyd came out with, I think it was momentary lapse of reason, a reason. I think it is. Roger Waters was not even involved in it, but it was
Right.
still Pink Floyd. It's like that interesting who gets the name, and
Hmm. Yep.
which is
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
funny because, as I believe, Roger Waters was in Pink Floyd before David Gilmour, but David Gilmour uses the name. That old stuff. It's always
All that
just
stuff is crazy to me.
you know, Jack Russell's Great White, Stephen Piercy's Rat. It's like, come on,
Yep.
so
Yep.
hard.
It
Even
gets
Queensryche,
crazy.
doesn't Jeff Tate have isn't it something with
Yeah, I
that
think he
too?
now tours under his own name, but for a
Yeah,
while he was touring like as Operation Mindcrime, I think.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, look, all of these, and I'm sure probably bands and artists now that form a band today, younger kids, maybe they think about those things and they decide, in a breakup who gets the name. I don't know. The whole thing is a disaster that, people weren't thinking about in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s when you were starting a band, like who would keep the band name in case some members leave. But that's another whole topic altogether. But
Yeah.
my
Which
thoughts, go ahead, go ahead.
which is interesting. I think of the band Jefferson Airplane, who
Hmm.
became Jefferson Starship, who became
Right.
Starship.
Right, exactly.
It's like I give them credit for that. At least they got different band, mostly
They
different. All right,
evolved,
let's
right.
we'll get. We're not an airplane anymore. We're a starship, and we have nothing to do with Jefferson, whether it's the
Right.
character in Married with Children or George Jefferson. Now we're just a starship.
That's right. That's right. Oh
So
man. But just thinking the Elder again for one moment, what do you think of the album cover? Right. So we spoke at the top of this about the change Kiss was going through 78, 79 into 80, new members, first time with Eric Carr, new member, new makeup, Duty Brown album cover. What do you think of that?
yeah. Well, I could see why they probably didn't want to put their faces on it. They're trying to do a serious thing. They didn't want to show the makeup, cartoonish, whatever. They were already, did the, they're going through from the unmasked thing, and those fans, they probably wanted to look a little more sophisticated. I mean, look at the wall.
Mhm.
It's a wall with white and like I think
Yep.
it's blue. It's
Instead of a wall, they had a door.
yeah, right, exactly. It didn't hurt that record, right?
Nope,
So it
no, it
probably
didn't.
was the same thing. It's like,
Mhm.
okay,
Yep.
it's not horrible. I mean, it's like it's not great, but
No.
it's I understand why they did it. It
Yes.
makes it some mysteriousness to the if the whatever, like what is this? A lot you look at, and then when you open up, it's got the table, whatever, and it's like for I think for what the record is, it's kind of appropriate, honestly.
Mhm.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the album cover is appropriate, but I hate it.
Yeah.
There's nothing about it that I like at all. They
I,
made the Kiss logo very small in the top left hand corner. I do like the gatefold. I'm glad you brought that up. I do
yeah.
like that table, and like that's like a perfect gatefold. But and I'm not suggesting that they should have been on the album cover. I get why they're not, but I don't know. Maybe they should have. I don't know. New member in the band, new makeup and all. Obviously, they were going with a different look. Gene had the little whatever he had in his hair. I don't even know what to call that ponytail. It's not a ponytail, but I don't know what to call that. Paul with his purple bandana. I mean, they were going for a very different, sleek
Mm,
look. I think they could have done something potentially
mm,
with them on the cover that still looked a little bit more serious than what they had been
mm-hmm.
doing. What they wouldn't have done a cartoon type cover, but yeah, if I was looking at all the Kiss album covers, no surprise, this one would probably be on the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
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 What do you think? I mentioned the costumes and Paul with the purple bandana and Ace had just like the bodysuit with like the lightning bolt on it. What do you think of the costumes, the outfits they were wearing?
They're okay. I mean, it's again after the big gaudiness of the dynasty and all that to kind of water it down a bit, a little more mature and a little slicker or whatever, I didn't have a problem with that,
Yeah, yeah.
honestly.
I never really did either. I don't love them, but I didn't have a problem with it. I just want to say, because I mentioned before, I had two holy grails from this album. One would be to hear Ace's solos. My
Yeah.
second holy grail, I would love, and this would probably be very high on my list. I'd love to get the original sequence of the album with all the narration between the songs that was supposedly recorded, right? So supposedly in between each song, they're like the way the album ends with somebody talking, with the boy getting, brought to the council, whatever. I would love to have heard the album with the talking, and how much different of an experience that might be listening to this album, original sequence, talking in between the tracks. That
Right.
has to be a friggin' trip. And I hope somebody has that out there and it wasn't like thrown away. Not that it would make it a great album still. Not, again, they're never going to release a deluxe edition, so I'm wishing for something that's never going to be released. But I'd love to hear that. That would be like probably very high on my holy grail list of like bootlegs if somebody ever had a bootleg copy of that.
Mm.
But
Well, you say they're never going to release it, but honestly, is it their control anymore?
no, it's I'm sure it's not. So
Right.
and let's be honest, the company acquires Kiss like Pop House did. They're not going to say, well, let's look at that album that was their worst selling album from their original period and let's put a deluxe edition on that one. That's the one the
Yeah.
fans are going to want. There's no
Right.
chance that this is ever going to happen. So I will
Right.
probably go to my grave never hearing that version of the album with the narration between the songs. But I'd love to hear that narration between the songs, Ace's solos. That would be a freaking great listen. It would probably be a different experience on this album.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to close with this, my friend. I'm going to bring us full circle. I mentioned some of those albums that came out in 81. We just spoke about The Elder. Here we go. Just quick. Don't think too much about it. The Elder or Start Me Up. Which album?
You mean Tattoo
Which,
You?
yeah, Tattoo You. Yeah, Tattoo You.
Okay.
Yeah, Tattoo You.
Oh,
Start Me Up was
the
on that album, right?
yeah, The Elder,
Wow. The Elder or Ghost in the Machine?
Ghost in the Machine,
The Elder or Business as Usual?
Business as Usual,
Belladonna or The Elder?
The Elder,
For those about to rock or The Elder?
The Elder.
I did not expect this. Fair Warning or The Elder?
Fair Warning,
Escape or The Elder?
Escape,
Diary of a Madman or The Elder?
The Elder.
That's it. Look at my friend. That's it. You're no longer welcome back on the fact that you paused and thought about that. I was like, oh man, if he says Elder on this one, he needs to have his freaking brain.
I was never a huge fan of that record.
Wow.
Diary of a Madman.
Oh
Never.
my God. I have to, when we hang up, I'm going to reevaluate this friendship. That's egregious what you just said.
And in all fairness, I'll confess, I've honestly never really listened to that record a lot. So I'm speaking when I don't know what I'm talking about. How about I just put it that way?
So I told you
if I listened to Diary of a Madman from top to bottom more than once in my life, that's a lot.
I'm stunned right now. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you know the songs, but you don't listen to it top to bottom, is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm saying this. I don't know that record from top to bottom. I know, the hits, but I know the popular songs. What were the popular songs? Obviously, Diary of a Madman. What else was on there?
Flying High Again, Believer,
High, yeah, of course.
Over the Mountain.
Yeah.
What were the other side?
I mean, when you name those songs, I'm like, yeah, these are great songs. I'm not, but I don't know the record.
SATO was a freaking great song. I think I'm missing one song somewhere.
Well, that'll be an exercise for me to listen to.
You Can't Kill Rock and Roll. What a freaking great song.
Yeah. Again,
man. You just disconnect right now and go listen to that damn album.
All right. See you later. Bye. Well, at least I'm confessing. I'm telling you why. Yes, it's got some logic. I'm not saying because it's not a better record. It's just I don't know it. I don't know it.
Wow.
I'm just saying if I do own that record though.
No, I have no doubt that you own the record.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, that was fun to do to kind of just bring this full circle. I was kind of curious. You rated the Elder higher than you even said it was higher than Tattoo You, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's got Start Me Up and Hang Fire and whatever. But again, I'm not that intimate with that record. Honestly, if you would have said The Elder or Sticky Fingers, I would have said Sticky Fingers. Or some, my opinion.
Interesting.
Plus, I got a certain amount of affection. Kiss is like, there are guys. I got that too. I love the Stones, but not anywhere near that. I love Kiss. I mean,
Right.
So
look, I think that's fair, and there can be a little bit of a bias towards Kiss in some of those, but that's fine. I will accept that answer.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see what the viewers and listeners have to say about the songs on this record. How do you rate these songs? What do you think of the album cover? Compare it to some of the records that we just did with Vincent really quick at the end here. Do you think I should kick Vincent off the show because he said the Elder's better than Diary of a Madman? I'd like to know your thoughts about that.
I didn't say better. I didn't say better. This was better. When you pose that to me, like, what would I pick? Not better.
I put you. Better. You didn't know I was going to do that to you either, so I put you on the spot there. But
yes.
But no, I'm curious to see how people will rank these songs. Do people agree with us? Under the Rose and Mr. Blackwell are the two worst songs on the album. I think most people are gonna. I think many people, not most, many people are gonna say Under the Rose is one of the best songs on the album. I'll be curious to see how people react. But as we always say, there's no right or wrong answers with this. There's all opinions are welcome, and we look forward to seeing and hearing what you have to say. I think on that note, we're a wrap, my friend.
Sounds good. This is fun.
How do you? Let's just do the double Ringo. Until next time.
Good with it. Till next time.
Later, everybody.
Later.
Alrighty, there you have it. Our thoughts and our opinions on the Kiss album, Music from the Elder. We look forward to hearing your thoughts and your comments on each of the songs. What are your favorites, your least favorites? What do you think of the album cover? And what do you think of the costumes the band wore for this album? We really look forward to hearing and reading what you have to say. Also, let me know if you think I should kick Vincent off the show, because he actually said he thought the Elder, he'd probably prefer to listen to that over Ozzy's Diary of a Madman. Do you agree with him? Again, I really look forward to reading your comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. You could also follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you all next time.